Here are the top stories this hour. More than 100 persons killed after fire outbreak in Iraq. 8 killed after mortar shelling in Pakistan. Plus, U.S. President Joe Biden joins auto workers' protest in Michigan. Welcome to the World News on VOP TV. I'm Kayla Abraham. A raging fire seemingly caused by fireworks set off to celebrate a Christian wedding has consumed a hall packed with guests in northern Iraq, killing at least 100 persons and injuring 150 others. Authorities warned on Wednesday the death toll could still rise. Authorities also disclosed that flammable building materials also contributed to the latest disaster to hit Iraq's dwindling Christian minority. Authorities also mentioned that the fire occurred in the Hamdaniya area of Iraq's Nineveh province. That's a predominantly Christian area just outside the city of Mosul, some 335 kilometers northwest of Baghdad. There was no official word on the cause of the blaze, but a Kurdish television news aired footage showing fireworks shooting up from the floor of the event and setting a chandelier aflame. In the blaze's aftermath, only charred metal and debris could be seen as people walked through the scene of the fire, the only lights coming from television cameras and the lights of onlookers' mobile phones. Survivors arrived at local hospitals in bandages, receiving oxygen as their families filled up hallways and outside as workers organized more oxygen cylinders. Some of those burned included children. Ambulance sirens wailed for hours after the fire as paramedics brought out the injured. Other footage shown on local television appeared to show the bride and groom on the dance floor when the fire began on Tuesday night, stunned by the sight of the burning debris. It wasn't immediately clear if they were among those hurt. No fewer than 8 persons have been killed in a live mortar shell explosion in the southeastern Sindh province of Pakistan. The deaths included children and women, and 4 others were wounded. It was reported that the incident occurred in the Kachka area of the Kankot district on Wednesday. Police stated that the live show exploded while the family collecting junk for livelihood was breaking it up to sell in the local market after finding it from an unknown place. Meanwhile, Sindh caretaker Chief Minister Justice Makbul Bakar took notice of the incident and sought a report from the Provincial Inspector General on how a rocket shell got into the area. Now, hundreds of students in the northeastern Indian state of Manipur have protested on Tuesday the killing of 2 students missing since July. Police used tear gas and smoke bombs to control protesters in the state capital of Imphal as demonstrators were demanding justice for the victims. The provincial government confirmed late night on Monday that the 2 students who were missing on July 6 during the peak of ethnic violence were killed. Pictures of the 2 students went viral on social media after internet services were restored in the state. Mobile services were restored on Saturday, and now a local journalist Basanta Kumar told reporters that the students had planned another protest for Wednesday and may continue demonstrating for some time. Meanwhile, India has told Canada it is open to looking into any specific or relevant information it provides on the killing of Sikh separatist Hardeep Singh Nijjar earlier this year. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau last week disclosed that Ottawa had credible intelligence linking Indian agents to the murder, prompting an angry initial reaction from New Delhi, which denies the allegation. India last week suspended new visas for Canadians and asked Ottawa to reduce its diplomatic presence in the country, citing what it called a deteriorating security environment. India had been badgering the Canadians about its claims that organized criminals are based there, adding that India had made a large number of extradition requests. Now, one-time top Cosa Nostra fugitive Matteo Messina Denaro has been buried in the cemetery of his hometown of Castelvetrano in Sicily amid tight security early on Wednesday. The mobster died in a hospital in L'Aquila on Monday, aged 62. A number of Messina Denaro's relatives, including his daughter Lorenza, his sister Beatrice and Giovanna, and his brother Salvatore, were present at the burial. The last godfather of the Sicilian mafia spent 30 years on the run before being caught in the Palmetto Cancer Clinic on January 16. The super boss, who was diagnosed with colon cancer while in hiding in late 2020, had been in San Salvatore Hospital since August 8 following a deterioration in his condition. Before that, Messina Denaro had been held at L'Aquila's maximum security prison under the tough 41 bis since January 17, the day after he was arrested in the Sicilian regional capital. On Friday, he went into an irreversible coma, and doctors treating him decided to withdraw his clinical nutrition on the basis of his leave-in. Messina Denaro had been convicted for his involvement in dozens of murders, including the 1992 Cosa Nostra bombings that killed anti-mafia magistrates Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino. Now, South Korea put on the first large-scale military parade in a decade on Tuesday, with weapons ranging from ballistic missiles to tanks rolling through Seoul in a show-off force as it takes a tougher stance against North Korea. The parade marks the country's Armed Forces Day, normally a muted event relative to the massive events the North has staged under leader Kim Jong-un that include strategic weapons such as intercontinental ballistic missiles. In a speech at Seoul Air Base, President Yoon Suk-yeol warned Pyongyang against the use of nuclear weapons and pledged to ramp up support for the military and the defense industry. The Defense Ministry stated that the full-day event featured thousands of troops and South Korea's homegrown tanks and self-propelled artillery, joined by 300 of 28,500 U.S. soldiers based in the country. The highlight was a 2-kilometer parade through Seoul's main commercial and business district to the bustling Gwanghwamun area that is the gates to the sprawling palace in the heart of Seoul. Crowds lined the streets in the rain to take in the rare display of military hardware up close, cheering as troops, tanks, missiles, and an underwater drone passed by. Meanwhile, the Korean Central News Agency reported on Wednesday that U.S. military soldier Travis King, who had illegally entered North Korea, is to be expelled in accordance with North Korean law. North Korean state media announced that the investigation into second-class Travis King, who had being held in custody since crossing the border in July, has concluded. While North Korean authorities have not provided detailed reasons for their decision, Korean News stated that King claimed he defected due to what he perceived as inhumane treatment by the U.S. military, racism, and social inequality in the United States. This assertion has also been made in August. This marks the first instance of an American citizen who had crossed over to North Korea being expelled. There have been an estimated 6 American soldiers who crossed the border to North Korea. The first case was Larry Abshire in May 1962, but the family of one American soldier whom the North Korean government claimed had defected in 1979 argued that he was kidnapped. King reportedly crossed the inter-Korean border during a group tour at the Joint Security Area on July 18. A Korean news reported that King expressed a willingness to defect. King faced accusations of assault against a Korean national on September 25 and damaging a patrol vehicle on October 8. He was scheduled to depart Korea on a flight to Fort Worth, Texas, to face military discipline. However, he managed to evade authorities and booked a tour to the demilitarized zone. Now, tens of thousands of refugees have fled Nagorno-Karabakh a week after Azerbaijan's lightning offensive in the separatist Caucasus region. Around 30,000 ethnic Armenians have left the enclave, amounting to a quarter of its entire population. Baku has promised to guarantee the safety of residents, but Armenia's prime minister warned of ethnic cleansing. The mountainous Nagorno-Karabakh is internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan, but was largely controlled by Armenian separatists. A ceasefire agreement was signed last week that handed the territory of around 120,000 people to Baku following its 24-hour military offensive. On Sunday, Azerbaijan reopened the only road linking Nagorno-Karabakh to Armenia and pledged to allow rebel fighters who surrendered their weapons to flee. The influx of refugees have caused huge traffic jams, with an endless stream of overcrowded vehicles carrying families and their belongings passing through the Lakhine corridor. Now, Afghanistan's acting foreign minister has met with a Russian presidential advisor for talks on bilateral issues, including on how to strengthen ties on Tuesday. Interim Foreign Minister Malawi Amir Khan Mutaki, who arrived in Moscow on Monday leading a delegation, met with Russian officials before moving on to Kazan, the capital of Tatarstan Republic of the Russian Federation, where he is expected to attend more talks. Mutaki also emphasized the need to reflect the real image of Afghanistan's current achievements to the world. The Taliban administration, which has faced widespread international criticism, particularly on women's rights, has vowed to resolve the issue of girls' education, stating it is a need for the society. The officials also agreed to continue interaction in the fields of climate change, education, trade, agriculture, industry, and sports. Now, U.S. President Joe Biden has joined striking members of the United Auto Workers in the state of Michigan, making him the first sitting U.S. president to join a picket line. Workers from the big three U.S. automakers General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis went on strike on September 15, with more than 18,000 employees walking out of their jobs to demand higher wages, increased cost of living adjustments, and improvements to pension and retirement benefits. While the UAW has historically supported Democrats, including Biden in 2020, the union did not formally endorse Biden during his visit. Meanwhile, the U.S. is halting its aid to Gabon following last month's coup. Anthony Blinken stated that the temporary measure was in line with actions taken by the regional Central African Bloc, the African Union, and other global partners following the coup. Gabon's membership of the Economic Community of Central African States and the AU was suspended following the coup. The State Department also disclosed that the decision to suspend aid to Gabon will remain while they review the facts on the ground. Blinken, however, noted that operational activities in the country were continuing, including diplomatic and consular operations to support U.S. citizens. On 30th August, Gabonese military leaders overthrew President Ali Bongo just after he was declared the winner of an election. President Bongo had been in power since 2009. He succeeded his father Omar Bongo, who first became president in 1967. Gabon's junta has promised to organize free and fair elections but has not set out a timetable. A new prime minister appointed by the junta told reporters earlier this month that the country would hold fresh elections within the next 2 years. Now, Nigeria's two biggest workers' unions plan to start an indefinite strike next week to protest the cost of living crisis after the government scrapped a popular but costly petrol subsidy. The National Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, the biggest unions, stated this on Tuesday. Unions have been pushing President Bola Tinubu to reverse his decision in May to scrap the decades-old subsidy that had kept fuel prices low but was draining government's finances. The government had urged unions to continue negotiations instead of resorting to strikes, saying this would hurt an economy grappling with double-digit inflation, foreign currency shortages, and low oil production. Prices have risen sharply, including the cost of food, transport, and power, as most businesses and households rely on petrol generators for electricity. Tinubu has defended his two biggest reforms, removal of the subsidy and foreign exchange controls, saying although this would lead to hardships in the short term, they were necessary to attract investment and boost government finances. Now, Kenya's digital regulator has fined a school $31,000 for posting pictures of students online without the consent of their parents. This is the first move of its kind by the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner. A nightclub and a credit company have also been fined $12,500 and $20,000 respectively. According to the regulator, the club posted a customer's picture on their social media accounts without their permission. The credit company threatened clients through phone calls and messages using information obtained from third parties. These finds have sparked a public debate about the right to privacy, especially in clubs and bars. Some of these establishments have now published notices that anyone entering their premises consents to be photographed, filmed or recorded without compensation, and that those who disagree with their rules should not go in. In a statement posted on X, the regulator disclosed that he hoped that the fines will send a message to institutions to comply with the country's data protection laws, including those that require them to seek consent before posting people's pictures online. Meanwhile, Kenya says it is confident that the deployment of hundreds of its police to Haiti by January will end gang warfare there. Last year, Haiti's government appealed for help because of the spiraling gang violence. Gangs have largely overpowered the police and now control more than three-quarters of the capital. Initially, Kenyan officials spoke of around 1,000 officers going to Haiti to train local police and help protect key installations there. But Kenya's Foreign Minister Alfred Mutua says it will be an intervention force to disarm what he called the thugs and the gangs. Alfred Mutua stated that the Kenyan police would free Haitians who had been kidnapped and free women who had been raped. He also disclosed that he did not expect there to be much violence. Some have expressed skepticism about sending officers 12,000 kilometers away to Haiti, especially as there are a lot of law and order challenges in Kenya, and rights groups have long accused the police of atrocities, including killings and torture. Now, a family spokesperson has disclosed that Nelson Mandela's granddaughter, Zuleika Mandela, has died of cancer at the age of 43. A statement shared on social media platform Instagram noted that Zuleika passed away on the evening of Monday, September 25th, surrounded by friends and family. Now, France's ambassador in Niger has flown out of the country a month after military rulers ordered his expulsion. The two countries had been close allies until President Mohamed Bazoum was ousted in July. France has refused to recognize the coup leaders and had ignored the order to withdraw its envoy. On Sunday, President Emmanuel Macron disclosed that Ambassador Sylvain Ité would leave within days. He also stated all French troops will withdraw from Niger by the end of the year. Now, Uganda's wildlife authorities have suspended 11 employees over the suspected sale of fake gorilla permits. The government agency, which sells passes allowing tourists to see gorillas up close, stated that it had found anomalies among its online transactions. Bashir Hang, spokesperson from the Uganda Wildlife Authority, stated that the possibility that staff and tour operators had worked together to commit fraud was being investigated. The agency added it had not yet established how much money it had lost to the suspected fraud. A number of UWA bosses are said to be questioned about the scandal. Gorillas generate significant tourism revenue for Uganda, and some of the money goes towards wildlife conservation efforts. Now, Cameroon's Minister of Communications has warned against speculation that the country might witness a coup amid a series of military takeovers in recent months. In a statement, René Emmanuel Sadi said that anyone who predicted a coup risked being arrested and prosecuted. Since Gabon's military seized power from Ali Bongo on August 30, commentators on social and mainstream media platforms have continued to raise the likelihood of a coup in neighboring Cameroon. The 90-year-old President Paul Biya, who survived a coup attempt in 1984, has ruled the Central African country for 41 years. His supporters are urging him to run for another term in the 2025 election. Now, Ghana's former trade minister has disclosed on Monday he would resign from the governing party and run as an independent candidate during the next presidential election in December 2024, dividing a government faced with dwindling support as it grapples with the worst economic crisis in a generation. Alan, who has served twice as trade Minister for the new patriotic party led administration since 2016, made the announcement at a briefing. The 67-year-old, who resigned from his ministerial role in January, said his contributions were not appreciated. Hundreds of demonstrators gathered in the capital Accra last week for 3 days of anti-government protests linked to economic hardship. The police arrested at least 49 people on the first day of the protest. And that's it on the World News and VOP TV. VOP Business Show is coming up next. I'm Kayla Abraham.